What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. And break down what's happening to the overall market. This one has some very important levels to be watching for, and how things are looking in my personal opinion. But before I begin the demos information, before I talk about Tesla, SPY, and all these different tickers, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeb link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 of them. And the offer ends very soon in just one day. It ends tomorrow. So check it out one more time before they run out. Anyways, for the market right now, I just want to call out something very important. SPY ended up getting a little dip today after we got some Treasury data where the US Treasury announced it's going to be buying and borrowing a lot more money than what we initially expected. However, despite that, the market got bought back up, and we're seeing SPY close just at 510 exactly. We're actually pushing above that in the after hours. That's a very, very good sign of strength. This is kind of showing us that this trend is still bullish. So as long as we hold above this 510 area, I do think that SPY will go to at least 512. And if that ends up breaking, we have 515 coming next. We have this imbalance, which is acting as this magnet kind of pushing us towards here as this volume is kind of developing right now. So this is a pretty good sign. And there is more potential in this market, in my personal opinion, at least to the upside, at least for now. So I want to break down more details about this over the next couple of minutes. But I first want to talk about what's going on with the economic calendar. So as a reminder, okay, tomorrow is going to be Tuesday, April 30th, 2024. An hour before the market opens at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the employment costs data coming out. So we have benefits, wages, and cost index all being announced. This could cause some volatility, but it shouldn't be too crazy. This is very, very minor data in my personal opinion. And then moving forward, 15 minutes after the market ends up opening, we have the Chicago PMI coming out. This might cause some volatility, followed by the 10:30 a.m. Dallas Fed Services Index and the Dallas Fed Services Revenue Index. So all this data is going to be very important an hour after the market opens. So watch and see what this causes. So look for some volatility 15 minutes after market open, and then 1 hour after that as well. And we'll see what that causes for the markets. Don't forget, guys, that Wednesday is going to be May 1st, so the first start of a new cycle. On top of this, we have the JOLTS job openings, then Jerome Powell giving a speech at the FOMC meeting. So you have FOMC on Wednesday. Keep this in the back of your minds. I want to give you guys a heads up about that. And then for tomorrow, just look for the volatility at the times I called out. Besides that, we have something else that's going to be very important for tomorrow. Tomorrow we have PayPal and Amazon announcing their earnings, not to mention AMD and Supermicro. And then for Thursday, we have stocks such as Aapl and Coinbase also announcing their earnings. So we have a lot of big tech earnings coming out on Tuesday and Thursday. This is what their earnings calendar looks like. If you want to take a screenshot, it's up to you. And then I also want to note that for today, we just had Paramount make some very important announcements. I want to talk about that before I break down more stuff. Paramount has made an announcement that their CEO, Bob Bakish, is going to be stepping down, and he's going to be replaced by 3 executives, at least for the time being. This could change moving forward, but for now, that's what they're going to be going for. Bob has basically done a lot of work for the company. He deserves a lot of recognition. He's been a part of it since 1997, excuse me. And he became the CEO of the company since 2016. So with him leaving, it's a very, very big announcement. You can see right over here, they reported 62 cents per share for the period, excluding items, versus the 36 cents per share estimation. On top of this, they posted a $7.69 billion revenue report, which is a little bit lower than what investors wanted. But besides that, the revenue is still up 6%. Overall, their sales did grow quite a bit, as they saw about 3.7 million new subscribers to Paramount Plus, which is great news for them. That brings the total to over 71 million subscribers, which is very, very good news for them. Overall, I would say this is good news for them, as we're seeing more and more rebounds in their overall numbers. On top of this, they're going to have to say farewell to Bob. So he's done a great job, and we'll see how things go for them moving forward. But pretty good earnings overall. Now, when it comes to more news that has come out, we have the Fear and Greed Index currently at fearful. It's not that far from neutral. We're getting kind of close to that, but we'll have to see if that changes. Market momentum is now back to greed as the market's balanced a little bit. So we're becoming a little bit more greedy. We have to see if spike in the S&P 500 could hold these levels. If they hold them, yes, we could see more upsets. So I'll be watching for that very, very carefully. On top of this, the puts and call positioning has shifted back to neutral. This was fearful. Well, it used to be extremely fearful just like a couple of days ago. Now it's back to fear, or at least it went back to fear. Now it's back to neutral. Excuse me. We're back to neutral. So this is because puts are continually being closed. We're seeing calls starting to overwhelm them. and we're starting to see more buyers stepping in. So once again, buyers are still defending. The VIX also closed below the 50 daily moving average, which is once again showing signs of weakness. This is because of the fact that the market is gaining a lot of strength. Another huge winner today was Tesla. It jumped over 15% after it passed a key hurdle to roll out FSD in China. So lots of these regulations have been once again ruled over, at least for Tesla. And this gives them the opportunity to not only gain access to their different maps and things like that through navigation keys, but it also allows Tesla to essentially expand the FSD over there, start collecting data, and do a lot of big things. So that's huge news as China's a massive market. That's very, very helpful for the share price. Anyways, for SPY, I mean, what do I see on the share price for now? Right now, I am seeing this very, very nice uptrend. You could even kind of interpret this as like a wedge, but I'm not too worried about the wedge, theory just yet, unless we get a rejection. So even if you do want to say that, I'm not going to worry as much about patterns. I want to focus more on this inverse head and shoulders like structure, firstly, and then secondly, you also want to be looking at the fact that we're at a particular level that opens the door for more potential upside. So I think that's more significant. So I would say that I'm going to be focusing more on levels than just patterns. This also could kind of resemble like a cup and handle, but it doesn't matter as much. So what do I see on the charts? So for SPY, what you'll notice is that we have this imbalance right here at this 512 area, and breaking through that opens the door to the next resistance at 515. SPY is likely going to try to push to 512.5. If that breaks, the 515s are coming. I think that's most likely going to happen. I do favor that a bit more. If there's a big if, we could hold above 510. Now, even though we dipped a bit after the Treasury data came out, right? Market saw a little sell off. Ultimately, we got a big bounce, and SPY is now back up. And because we closed at 510 exactly, there's still potential for this to go higher. I just need to see it hold that. If it holds above this, we're used to going up to 512.5 and eventually 515. If we don't hold this, we could be dipping back down towards 508.5. But if anything, SPY is showing some strength. We got this nice wick that formed right here. There's a nice uptrend being established. And this chart favors another push towards this imbalance at 512 in my personal opinion. So I think at the very least, we're going to see at least 512 as the most likely possibility. But in case it gets a rejection, always keep in mind that there's 508.5 as another level. I just personally favor the upside being a bit more probable. For Tesla now, I know a lot of people want to talk about Tesla. Tesla's looking pretty good. I'm going to bring up a smaller time frame just to show you guys these levels. So Tesla tends to be very, very tight, as it loves to just respect these tight levels on a daily basis. We're kind of chopping right now between support at 192 and we have resistance at 195. If we break past 195, we could be getting very close to 200 again. What I see on Tesla is the fact that this is still continuing to uptrend, and we got a very, very nice breakout thanks to the bullish news. I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla comes down a bit again during the pre-market to retest 191 to 192, then it starts bouncing again. And if it breaks this 195 area, I wouldn't be surprised if we go up to the 200s. 200 to 204 is a real possibility, and I favor that Tesla will make its way up higher because the news that's coming out is just so bullish. Very, very great for them as they're expanding their AI developments and their investments into AI as announced by Elon Musk. So great news for Tesla. It's great that they're expanding in China. They got the approval from Chinese officials to essentially expand their FSD over there. And that's great, great, great news for them. So this is looking bullish overall. For Nvidia, Nvidia is basically trying to rebound as well. If we end up testing this wick at this 880 area, I could see this actually trying to push up higher towards 892. I see potential in Nvidia to bounce because when you zoom out like this, we just look at the overall structure, right? Just like this, we kind of turn off some of these lines. You could see on the 4-hour time frame, this is still bullish. If you look at this, this is still bullish looking. It's been uptrending. Took a little breather today and it got bought back up. So it looks to me like it's going to be testing resistance at this 880 zone, come down a little bit more again, and then start pushing higher. If it breaks that, we could be looking for the low 900s. 906 is a strong possibility. So I think what's going to happen is Nvidia is going to kind of shuffle a little bit around this 880 area, retest 880, come back down to 877, kind of trade sideways in this range. And then I think Nvidia is going to break out towards 900. So I do have a nice target. So look for a little bounce, a little sideways price action, and a breakout towards 900. I find that to be very, very probable. For a few more before I break down the other time frames, looking at the QQQ, we're looking a bit more bullish as we have a nice bullish wedge developing right here. This could also be dependent on Amazon and PayPal's earnings, of course, but don't forget we have this nice imbalance all the way up here towards the higher 430s. There's also an important zone right here, which is where we have previous support becoming resistance at 435. So to me, it looks like a bullish wedge is trying to form. I think that if we break 433, we're going to easily push up to 435, if not 430, the 437 area. If we reject here, we could be dipping towards 432, and losing that would take us down to 430. But I personally favor that this is going to get bought up and start pushing towards 435 plus. I find that that's to be very probable for the QQQ. So with that being said, let's see if the QQQ could push higher. It looks pretty good to me, and I do favor the upside. For Aapl, it's kind of mixed right now. So the issue with Aapl is the fact that we got a small rejection, but I think the chart is still bullish on the 4 hour. I think we're going to be coming all the way up towards 176 again. We could dip a little bit though. It could retest 172.5 before it tries to bounce back up to 175 plus. So look for a little dip before it tries to rebound, and I still find that to be very, very probable. So look and see if we get this little dip first, and let's see if we rebound from there, and we'll see how things go moving forward. With that being said, guys, that is it, at least for the main five. Let's now just focus on some other tickers. So when it comes to Palantir, right? Palantir is actually still holding up very well. I see more potential upside all the way up here. I think it could be testing 23 points to by tomorrow or so. So I could see a bit more upside. We're entering a very, very choppy zone. It loves to chop around 22.5 and 23. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually dip a bit, retest 22.5, come back up, and just start pushing higher. I think we're eventually going to be pushing for 23.25 very, very soon for higher levels. So look for a little dip and a bounce, and I find that that's to be very, very probable. For super micro, like Nvidia, I said that this is looking a bit more bullish. That's what's happening so far. This imbalance is going to fill most likely into the 930s. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually go all the way up to 900 tomorrow and then try to break through this and fill that imbalance to go to these higher levels. I think Supermicro has a lot more potential to test 900, so I do favor that a bit more. I think that this is going to try to push even higher as time goes on. For a few more, we have Rivian. Rivian, in my personal opinion, has a nice double bottom like structure. This is also trying to push with Tesla. I think this imbalance will fill all the way up to 9.5. Look for a potential retest of about 9.25 around there. Then a bounce, and I think we could be going all the way up towards 9.5 quite easily. On top of that, we have SoFi. SoFi actually got a little dip after its earnings, unfortunately, despite the fact that they had pretty good earnings. We're going to be looking at support right now at the $7 area. Could dip a little bit more towards 6.8, then expect a bounce after that. We are kind of oversold, so look for a little dip to about this 6.8 area before we try to bounce. So watch for that very, very carefully. For the IWM Russell 2000, right? This is looking bullish right now. We have a nice accumulation structure forming a cup and handle. I think that we could be pushing all the way up to about 202. Might reject here a little bit and start pushing up to 202. I find that to be very, very probable. For AMD, we're also looking a bit more bullish. We have this imbalance also trying to fill, and I called a bounce on AMD yesterday. That's what's happening. I think we could go all the way up to 163.5. So look for a potential retest right here at 160 and then a bounce back up to 163.5. If we end up losing 160, yes, we could actually dip down to 158 and then kind of dip a little bit. But I favor this actually trying to bounce a bit towards 163.5. I find that to be a bit more probable. For ARM, this is also looking a bit more bullish. I think that we're going to get closer to the 50 EMA. We called a bounce off the previous support, and that's what's playing out quite nicely so far. So I wouldn't be surprised if we end up going to about the 50 EMA. I think we're going to be testing 106 very soon. So I favor a little bit more upside for this very slowly. Now, unfortunately, for Coinbase, we had a bit of a dip today, but don't forget that with this drop coming, we're still at support at 215. If we lose 215, we're going to be dipping to fill the gap all the way down to 210. If we hold the 215 area, and this is the rebound, look for 221.6 to be tested, followed by a bounce. I favor a little bounce on coin. For Meta, in my personal opinion, is looking a bit more. Not Meta. Amazon. Amazon's looking a bit more bullish as we have earnings coming out for tomorrow. So earnings come out for Amazon, by the way, after the market closes tomorrow. Okay, so make sure you keep this in your mind. After market close tomorrow, Amazon has its earnings. That's going to have a big effect on the markets. So we'll have to see if we continue to push here. We have this imbalance to fill, in my personal opinion. So I think that this could cause some interesting moves. I think that this could actually try to push up towards 184, if not higher, back up here approaching its earnings. Then we'll see what earnings causes for the share price, but I see some upside potential. Meta has come down quite a bit, and I think that it's trying to base at 430. So I think there's a very good chance it's going to try to rebound. If you look at the current retracement area right here, so if I take this Fibonacci retracement, you would see that from down here, if we come up, we're actually approaching a very, very key level. We're actually very close to about the 0.382 retracement at 430. Below that, we have 424 as the next support at the 0.5 retracement. So watch 430. If we lose this, 424 could come, but I think it's going to bounce soon. I still favor that bounce. I think Amazon's earnings is going to have a big effect on this. And I think that there's a very good chance we're going to try to get that move back up. So watch for a bounce on that. For Microsoft, we're still stuck in this range, stuck at 400. If we lose 400, we could be dipping, excuse me, all the way down to about 393. If we bounce off here, look for 405 as resistance, followed by 408. So I favor this kind of dipping a little bit and trying to bounce back up from 400. I think we could be looking for 405. Look for a little dip right here, a retest of 398, and a bounce back up. And I think there's very much potential in this. For Google, in my opinion, could be selling off a little bit more. We're going to be looking for a test of 165.84. If we touch that and bounce, yes, we're going to be on our way back up towards 172. If we don't bounce off that, we could be dipping to 161. So look for 165.84. Let's see if we bounce off there. I think it's going to dip a little bit more, and we'll see how things go. For the VIX, it's looking a bit more bearish to me because we lost 15 and there's this gap to fill down here. So I kind of favor it's going to come down to fill this gap very close to the very high 12s. So I think that 12.9 could be coming and there's going to likely be a rejection on the VIX. With that potentially happening, I think that could lead to, or this could be because of more upside in the markets. There might be more upside coming. The market may push a bit more. And I think that could essentially lead the VIX to coming down to fill this gap. So I favor that somewhat more. For the 10-year Treasury yield, I just want to call out that there are two possibilities. There's actually two caps to fill on this. I feel like it's just going to trade within a range for the time being. This like 4.6 air, not really do a whole lot. And then a big move will come depending on what Jerome Powell says during the FOMC meeting. So if Powell pumps the markets, we could come down to start filling some of these gaps if he's dovish. If Powell's more hawkish because of the fact that inflation is still showing signs of still going up, still being kind of hot, then yes, this could start pushing up higher. And if that's the case, this would cause a big shift in yields. And then that would lead to the market potentially seeing some downside. So we'll have to watch and see what happens to the 10-year. This is going to be very, very key. And I think FOMC is going to have a bigger effect on this. Otherwise, it's just going to be range bound for the time being. Finally, the dollar got a rejection off 106 from yesterday. We came down here, so I'm going to be looking for a move potentially to about 105.5. It's looking a bit more bearish to me. And I think that with the dollar sinking a bit, this is bullish for the stock market. So this favors a little bit more upside for the market just temporarily. And then things could change depending on FOMC and such. So for SPY, we're still uptrending technically speaking. Let's see how well it tries to hold above 510 by tomorrow. If we hold it and break it, 512 is a real possibility. I favor that this is going to try to break out a little bit more. I think that imbalance is trying to push it higher. So SPY might continue to push. However, whether or not this lasts will be dependent on FOMC, Jerome Powell's words, and also some big tech earnings. So we'll just have to wait and see how those all go. But for now, the charts do favor a bit more upside is coming. So be prepared for that and get ready for tomorrow. Thank you all so much for listening. Please have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. Be very, very blessed. And I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thanks again and peace out.